Hey, this is Sanj Lewis, and you're listening to the Life is Beautiful podcast, the podcast where we cover many aspects of life in order to benefit your own. I remember a friend was talking to a homeschooler, and she said one of the reasons why her parents wanted her to go to public school was so that she wouldn't be sheltered and she would know how to deal with the problems of the world in that environment. But what her parents didn't know is that there's so many myths that float around with homeschooling that just aren't true. And the homeschooler that my friend was talking to was me. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm as homeschooled as they get. I have the freedom to do my school in my jammies. I can get up at 9 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I get to decide that. I became a CCP student at Lorain County Community College, where you can take college courses in high school, and I've been doing that since 9th grade. I love VeggieTales, and my best friends are also my classmates, which happen to be my siblings. From hearing stories from my friends that did go to public school and private school, I kind of came to the conclusion that I was pretty content with my homeschooling experience, and I wasn't completely sure why people would quit homeschooling and go to school instead. Which brings me to our first question that we're going to answer in the Truth of Homeschooling series. Why would parents choose to put their kids in school after homeschooling them? To answer this question, I had the privilege of talking to a girl by the name of Maddie Carroll, who was homeschooled on and off until high school, and she is now attending First Baptist Christian School. What approach did your family take with homeschooling? Did you do it online or just the paper?
Yeah. So when I was younger, they did a lot of like going to co-ops and having actual curriculums like in textbooks and things like that we used. But then in junior high, like the curriculums just started getting harder and there were more siblings that my mom had to teach. So she started using online school.
How many kids do you guys have in your family?
6.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense. Why did your parents originally decide to homeschool?
Before I was homeschooled in 3rd and 4th grade, I went to public school, and it was just not a very good environment. I was having a lot of really bad influences, and my parents could tell it was kind of affecting my attitude. And also, my younger brother went to public school with me, and he was getting bullied. So they just decided to pull us out because that was going to be better for us, and I think it was in the long run.
Did you enjoy homeschooling when you started?
Yeah, I definitely did. I didn't think I was going to at first, but I did.
What were some of the pros of homeschooling?
I think just like the hands-on approach, you know? You can kind of do whatever you want to learn a subject. It's not just like you're sitting in a classroom with a bunch of other kids. You have to wait for other kids to get done before you can move on. You kind of work at your own pace. And there's just a lot more free time. And so you can go on cool field trips and all that kind of stuff.
You're going back to school now. Why did your parents decide to send you back to school?
Oh man, that's a good question. Oh, I remember. Okay, sorry. It's just so long ago. We actually, at the end of 4th grade, we moved. And so that summer, we didn't have a house at all. We were like staying at other people's houses because we couldn't find one because the market was so bad. The fall came and we still didn't have a house. And my mom was like, I can't homeschool you guys when we don't actually have a house.
That would be like travel school.
Yeah, exactly.
On the road.
So they were like, okay, you guys have to go to school because we do not have a house. So we did find a house a couple months later, but that was the reason we went in 5th grade. Later on, it was just because I wanted to, and we finally were financially able to, so I went to school then.
And you were happy with that decision?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I'm more of an extrovert, I thrive well in a school setting. Instead of being homeschooled where I'm kind of by myself more, I have more energy when I'm around people.
Would you say the difference between homeschooling and going to school was that you just miss more of the social life of it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially in junior high. So I have this one friend who actually lives in Thailand, but she was visiting in America for a couple months, and she went to this school. I was like so mad. I don't know, I just felt really left out and stuff.
And you go to the same church that you go to school with, right?
Yes.
So a lot of your classmates you probably see on Sunday.
Right, yeah.
So I could imagine being homeschooled and then everybody else going to the same school. I could definitely see how you would probably feel a little bit more left out.
Yeah.
Of a lot of the inside jokes, the things that people do every day. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. How is it different from homeschooling?
It's a lot more structured. When I was homeschooled, because I have horrible time management skills, I would wait and like stretch out my school throughout the entire day. And it was like, I could have gotten it done in like 3 hours, but I didn't because of my time management.
The accountability of school is definitely a plus. I mean, I'm taking CCP classes and I actually get a Christmas break when I do that. Thank you so much for talking with me and for answering my questions. And I hope you have the rest of a good senior year.
Thanks.
Time management. That is a big thing that if you're homeschooled, you have to be good at. You have to be able to keep track of your schedule, to keep up with your schedule, or else you're going to be doing it year long. And I noticed that Maddie wasn't the only one who mentioned this issue. I also talked to another friend by the name of Morgan Yunt who also mentioned that she struggled with time management and that going to a school now has really helped with that.
I just had trouble keeping on top of things and pushing myself to actually do my schoolwork. I didn't have the accountability of like a teacher or a class.
I wanted to hear Morgan's mom's perspective on the reason why they chose to put her back in school.
We really felt like our girls needed to be around more kids their age, kind of get the experience of what classroom learning was like. At the time, we're taking care of my mom who had Alzheimer's, which my daughters were great helpers with, but it was just very stressful, and we didn't want to distract them from what was important as far as their education, so we felt like they needed to just kind of be kids, get the education that they needed, and not have the distraction of what was going on in our house at the time.
Morgan, were you happy with their decision?
Yes, actually. Especially since freshman year being homeschooled was probably the hardest. So it felt really nice to be able to go back to school. And
how are you doing being in school now?
Actually really well. I have, I think, a 3.6 GPA.
Homeschooling is not for everyone. Like both girls mentioned, time management is a huge thing that homeschoolers must have, and especially if you're doing online homeschooling and your parents aren't going to be very involved in your education, that can be really hard to stay on top of by yourself without the accountability of a teacher. The purpose of homeschooling is to provide for your child the best experience they can have with their education. And if homeschooling is not going to be the best experience, then parents should consider putting their children in private or public schools. It's really all about the child and what's best for them. Thank you so much for listening to the Life is Beautiful podcast, and join us next time as we tackle the myth that homeschoolers will not be able to integrate well into adulthood. You can find us on platforms such as Spotify or my YouTube channel, Sanj Lewis. If that means homeschooling 1 year and then going to school the next year, then that is totally fine. And don't be afraid to experience different options if one isn't working. We need to make sure that whatever education they get, whether that's through private, public, or homeschooling, that it's going to be the best route for your child to learn and grow as a person.